Larry Aleksandrich, he handles all our ammonia stuff with the government, tells you guys what to look for, what could happen, and sort of a little bit what's going on. So, Larry.
Any first timers? Oh, a bunch. Okay. Ever been around ammonia before?
Yes.
Yeah. Other places?
I used to use it in my water. I'm a high-rise window cleaner.
Oh, okay.
Care to what?
And Joe, where did you work?
At American.
He was in Miracle.
Oh, Miracle. Yeah, a lot of people jump around from different warehouses these days. Miracle, Lineage, you name it, people are jumping all over the place. So, kind of find a good home, right? All right, so we got some first timers. So, you know, why do we do this training? Every year we do hazard communications training. Because we want to let you know that there's anhydrous ammonia in the system. So that's our fluid, right, that we use in our refrigeration system, where typically you use Freon where? In your refrigerator. Okay, so we're a much bigger system. Think of us as a giant freezer with ammonia that is the fluid that runs through the pipes to help keep us nice and cold. So we're coming into the cranberry season right now, where we'll bring in numerous amounts of cranberries, lots of truckloads. They'll come in warm. They'll come in the 70s probably, with lots of water, right? They come right out of the bogs and they put them in the totes. So we bring those in and we're going to freeze them. We're going to take them down to below zero. So we have to take all that heat out of the product, out of those cranberries, and that's what our job is. So we want to make sure that we're getting the temperature and we're storing them according to what Ocean Spray wants us to do. Well, what do we want to do? Well, at Quaker Valley, at NEP, what we want to do is make sure that we have a safe workplace. So this plant was built 1999. It's my 24th year coming here. So I was here originally when that freezer, the boxes were built. And it was built to store cranberries. So it's a big freezer where we can store, I think, 30 million pounds we're going to store.
Well, yeah, this year we'll do
30 million, but we've stored more before. But again, so if it's your first time, we got to be careful with that. So with the ammonia, it's a hazardous chemical. We're regulated again by OSHA and EPA, also Homeland Security. So we want to make sure that we keep the ammonia where? In the pipes in the system. All right. We want to make sure that you're trained, that we have people that know how to take care of it in case we have a leak. The Philadelphia Fire Department would respond if we did have a leak. You would see me and Nick and the Vault, who is our refrigeration contractor too as well. So we want to make sure that we do the right things. If there is an ammonia leak, what do we do? What's it going to smell like? Some of you have smelled it. Ammonia, remember that liquid ammonia in a bottle like Ajax ammonia or cleaning solution that you used on windows is probably about 1% ammonia, but we're at 99% water, but the stuff that we use is pure anhydrous ammonia in the pipes is 100% pure. All right, so strength, absolutely, it's pure, right? So what we'll talk about is, why do we do this training? We do it at the start of your employment. A lot of you are new. We do it at the start of the season, just as a, if you've been here a number of times, and I know I've seen some people before, we like to just, reintroduce you and tell you, reminders about that we have it here. So we do it annually. Under toxicology, we'll talk about hazardous material definitions. We'll talk about exposure limits. When do you smell it? When is it time to leave? We'll talk about exposure. Anhydrous ammonia, anhydrous means without water. So it's always looking for water, and it's looking for heat all the time. It's toxic. What does that mean? At very high levels, it could kill you. All right? It's different. It smells. It lets you know it's in the room. Freon units that are in like the Quaker Valley side, you won't smell that release of that refrigerant. But on the ammonia side, at very, very low levels, your nose will be the best ammonia detector we have. And you'll smell it. You'll pick it up right away at very, very low levels. All right? And so what does that mean? That's parts per million. Parts per million is like the measurement of how strong it is. Okay, how strong it is. And you're going to pick it up about 2 to 3 parts per million, which is what? So low. But your nose is so sensitive to it. Okay? Our goal is what at Quaker Valley NEP? 0. Right? We don't want to smell it. We don't want to smell it in the engine room. Everybody know where the engine room is, by the way? There's a room that makes a lot of noise on the outside of the building when you come back from the NEP side, okay, where the trailers are over there. You'll hear that drone of the compressors running. If that's ever silent, let somebody know. Or if the beacons outside or the strobes outside that building are going off, we want to let somebody know, right? So quiet is no good, because that means that what? Somebody unplugged our refrigerator, right? We're not running. So OSHA says I can breathe up to 50 parts per million every day. And nobody in this room will ever stay at 50 parts per million, believe me. Again, your nose will pick it up about 2 parts per million. To give you an example, if I put Ajax ammonia up to my nose really close, that's almost 300 parts per million. If I take smelling salts, you know, I get knocked out a little bit, what do? They put that up to my nose. That's about 300 parts per million. It makes you what? More awake, right? You ever see athletes do it on a football field too before they go out, or hockey players? They'll sniff smelling salts just to get them what? To be more alert. So you'll see it. So that's the kind of stink, but you'll get it at a very low level. Immediately dangerous to life and health is 300 parts per million. And that's important for the fire department to know, because that's when they have to wear respiratory protection or SCBAs to make sure that they don't what? They don't get harmed by it. We really don't want to smell it. You flip it over, our vapor density. What does that mean? Well, in the freezer like what we have here in those boxes, ammonia will be heavier than air. The good thing about the boxes where we store the cranberries, we don't have what they call evaporator units, or units that absorb the heat hanging in the room. They're all up on the roof in penthouse units. All we really have there is ductwork. We don't want to hit the ductwork either, but the coils themselves that carry ammonia are way up on top of the roof and can't get struck by a forklift. If you worked in other warehouses, you may see the cooling units or the evaporators hanging in the space, and they'll have steel up around them so people don't what? People don't hit them, right? So in this warehouse, though, we don't have to worry about it because that was implemented when we built the plant. Other than that, if it's on a day like today where it's very sunny, and if we had a release up on the roof or outside, the ammonia is lighter than air, and it would just basically float away. All right. It mixes completely with water. That's how we make Ajax ammonia in a bottle. All we do is dilute it with what? Water. But you know and I know when I put that up to my nose, it stinks. And I really don't like the smell. So think about that. That's 1/100th of what it could smell like if the liquid came out of those pipes. All right. How does it get into my body? All right. So there's a few ways. Absorption through the skin. God forbid you see a contractor or somebody come out of the engine room and it looks like their clothes have frostbite on them, you know, frost or ice. It meant that the liquid left the piping and actually got on their clothes. One of the biggest things we always want to do is put water on them. So if you ever see somebody come out, the first aid really is water, water, and more water. Your skin is no match for it. The chances of you being hit by any ammonia is so rare. The bigger exposure is who? The contractors and the people that go in that engine room, where it's the heart of the system. Okay, that's where the compressors are doing their job in there. Inhalation's another rapid route into your body, because you're going to pick it up, you may get a smell. That's the only way I think you could possibly be impacted. When I talk about ingestion, you don't drink it, but ammonia is always under pressure in this system. And I've had a contractor just before Christmas last year up in Boston step on hit a line and actually knocked the valve off and was hit with about 20,000 pounds of ammonia, and he was killed. So basically he went, took that deep breath and actually sucked liquid into his body, and he was killed almost instantly. So again, he was working on what? The heart of the system, you see? You guys in the warehouse don't have to worry, but if you do smell it, even low levels, let somebody what? Know it. Okay, let somebody know it. Flip to ammonia first aid. Again, skin contact, everything with ammonia. If you happen to see somebody and again they were struck by ammonia, get water on them. Water is the replacement, because otherwise the ammonia is going to seek to take what? The water out of the body. All right. Eye contact. We have eye wash stations and showers in the engine room. So where if they do get like some vapor in their eyes, they can actually what? Wash it out. If you flip over, the ammonia boiling point is minus 28 degrees Fahrenheit. There's a rare chance, but if you ever see a leak in the freezer on the floor and it's not frozen, it could be ammonia, okay, like a puddle. It's highly unlikely. It's happened twice in my 40 years of doing refrigeration, okay. It'll look just like what? Water. So we always want to be careful. Just in case something's dripping out of a penthouse unit or something like that, we just want to make sure. Remember, if it was water at 0 degrees, what happens to water? It becomes what? Ice. Okay? See what I'm saying? Now, you're going to have some water coming out of those totes when you start bringing those cranberries in. And it's going to make some ice on the floor. So that's going to be normal. All right? It reacts with acids. It doesn't like chlorine. It's its bitter enemy. Things like bromine, fluorine, iodine, very strong acids we don't want to mix it with, and that's more for the fire department and hazmat teams that do that. But we cannot use zinc, copper, any soft metals. We use soft metals in Freon systems, but we can't do it with ammonia. Ammonia will literally be a corrosive or actually eat those metals very quickly. Okay? And of course, no contact lenses around working with ammonia, and that comes for the mechanics. And again, the techs from DeVault. DeVault's a great contractor who has been working with us forever, and they take care of the system. We've done all the testing, make sure that everything is working what? Properly before what? The rush comes on. You know, and you're going to have some loads coming in tomorrow. And that's going to put heat in that box. So what's our job? Refrigeration system is to take the heat what? Out of those cranberries and make them nice and frozen. Okay? If we do have a release, we always want to be upwind. Well, how do I tell that? There's wind socks around the plant, okay? And we always want to be where? Upwind, right? We don't want to go downwind where the wind is blowing at us and we could possibly smell it, okay? And if there is an ammonia release, we want to report it. There may be a time where if it's outside up on the roof, we may tell you to stay inside, called shelter in place. Otherwise, we'll tell you to what? Evacuate and head up towards the school. We may have you actually go across the street on Red Lion Road and go across to the school. We need accountability. Please don't leave in your car and screech your tires out of here. We need to know that you've been what? Accounted for. Otherwise, the fire department's going to have to come in and make what? A search and rescue to figure out where you are. Please don't stop to get your lunch, your keys, and anything else before you leave. Leave the building as quickly as you can. Again, if you're not accounted for, we're going to have to account for you, and emergency responders such as police and fire are going to have to go in the building and look for you. All right? It's very important. Again, we'll determine the need. The incident commander is going to be the Philadelphia fire chief, one of the deputy chiefs, and then hazmat will come out. They're very familiar with ammonia. They're great people. They have the personal protective equipment to handle a major leak if needed. Our job really is to get you out of the building safely, account for you, and report to them that everybody's safe. Okay? We'll coordinate, and that's one of the things I do is the compliance side of the business, because if we did have a leak, a significant leak, we have to report it to the government. We have to report it to the National Response Center. Then other agencies, and there's lots of paperwork and report that we have to follow up on to make sure that what? Corrective action has been taken too. Okay? Again, assist in evacuations, conduct a head count, and report those results of the head count to who? The fire department. Philadelphia Police will make sure that nobody else comes on site. You know, we want to make sure that nobody comes towards an ammonia leak though, believe me. Everybody runs from it. It's like self-alarming. It'll tell you what, it's here, and nobody sticks around, right? So you smell it, you know. Accountability is the key. Again, we report anybody unaccounted to the fire department. And when we do drills, we want to get you out of here quickly. We want to assemble, account, take head count, and we go, right? Assembly area, primary, again, front of the building. Front of the building. You want to make sure you're good.
Okay.
What kind of liquid, what kind of spills? You could get a smell like a vapor leak. If we did have something, you know, major liquid, we would take care of it as well. We have a lot of safeties and interlocks on this system. And as I said before, if I release more than 100 pounds, I have to let the EPA know that we've lost 100 pounds. In the city of Philly, there's lots of ammonia sites. Some really good, some really bad. Okay, there's some older facilities that haven't been taken care of. Again, this facility, 24 years old. It's been good. We had some trouble in the beginning with a defective piece of equipment, but since then, the system has been well maintained by Nick and DeVault and the experienced mechanics from there. So we're in really good shape. All right. We always want to be careful. Always want to be observant. You know what I always say? If you see something, say something. Well, if you smell something, even if you think, say something. It's important. Everybody work days, or you got people on nights? Nights? Anybody? All days?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you want to go over the alarm system that's out there, blue lights, strobes.
Yep. So we have blue lights out there that are strobes and horns that will tell us that there's what? An ammonia detector going off. So we have detectors that will pick up what? Parts per million and activate alarms. So if you hear and see those blue lights, those strobes going off, we're out. We're out of the building. Nobody stays. Just like if you had a fire alarm in this building, guess what? You're out. Nobody keeps picking orders. Nobody keeps unloading cranberry trucks. We're out. We're out. We're out of that building. Okay? Please don't stick around. Don't say, oh yeah, I got 2 more pallets on this truck. And truck drivers are honestly the worst, because sometimes those guys will bolt out of a door, you know, and they want to get out of here. Right? So be very careful with them and make sure if you're unloading a truck that it's what? Chocked, whatever. Make sure that they just can't pull away from the door. All right? Sometimes if they get a smell of ammonia, these guys get into panic mode. All right? And truck drivers don't like to get trapped here if something's going on and they're going to be here for a long duration and they can't get out of here. I've seen them do crazy things and run hoses over trying to get out of a plant because it had a fire. All right? So again, if you smell something, say something. If you get an alarm, leave the building. Look at the windsock, primary assembly area out front, secondary out back by what we call the retention pond. Okay? Remember in the Quaker Valley side we have Freon units, right? In the NEP side we've got what? It's all ammonia in those boxes in the back. All right? That was the add-on, right? Questions? You good?
And we do have in the penthouses, the only place that's really in the building, we have sensors in there.
Yep.
2 ppm, the alarm goes to John's controls to me. 5 p.m. it shuts
Pumps it
down
down.
that unit.
Yeah.
So there's no chance it's going to keep pumping ammonia into the building. Wayne and Pat had them set them super
So
low.
So low. It's below the 50. Remember I just talked about 50 parts per million? We've got those set so low that if you even get a sniff, it's going to basically, it'd be like a leak. If you had a cut on your finger, we're actually going to what? Pump down that finger, pump down that evaporator right away. We'll pull the liquid out of it, and it pulls into a vacuum so that we can't what? You won't smell it. So we have it set so ultimately low. You have the lowest value.
Yeah, it was, and we've tested them, and it does shut them down.
Yeah. So it automatically, remember I said there's safeties here? That's what we have. You don't have to wait for somebody to get up on the roof to close a valve. It's going to happen automatically. And that's why, that's the pre-game show before cranberry season. We want to make sure all our interlocks work. There's also an emergency stop button on the outside of the plant that if we do have a problem, we can push the button and basically kill the heart, kill the system. Okay? But we have automatic shutdowns. So if there is a significant leak in the engine room, it will shut down automatically as well. Okay? So that's the only time that what? We should hear silence coming out of that room. Otherwise you're going to hear compressors running. Right? That's normal. We need to know that the freezer is what? Running. Right? Once we get the cranberries in there, once we pull all that heat out, it's just like a giant iceberg. You know, it's going to be all the way down below zero, and it's frozen, and that'll stay nice and cold. So during the rest of the year, all we're doing is kind of holding that temperature. But right now, when we're bringing in these fresh cranberries, we're taking out a lot of heat out of that box. We've got to take them from that 70, 75 degrees all the way down to below zero. That's a lot of heat to remove. So we're really like a blast freezer in the beginning, okay? And then we just maintain the freezer. It'd be like if you put fresh ground beef into a freezer, right? It's going in soft and we'll pull the heat out and it's block frozen, right? Okay, questions? You good? Yeah?
Did everybody sign the sign sheet?
In NEP, we have an alarm system for ammonia, right?
Yeah.
So, is it a beacon that we'll see flashing inside the building, the warehouse
Outside,
itself?
outside the building.
I'm talking about actually inside, say,
No.
all right, so there's
Yeah.
nothing in the building.
You'll hear it from outside. Oh, you'll hear it. You'll know it.
All right.
And the system's shutting down. The best thing about this plant too is we have access to it remotely. So somebody doesn't have to be on site to diagnose what's going on with the freezer. So he'll get an alarm for temperatures, he'll get an alarm for detection. He
Got
can
an alarm
actually,
last week in Texas, 1 a.m. in the morning.
1 a.m. in the morning, it doesn't matter where you are, he'll get the alarm, and we can shut down units, we can shut down freezer, we can hit the e-stop, we can shut down a compressor very easily, no matter where you are. Where years ago, you had to respond to the plant. And by the time you got to the plant, you could have lost a lot of ammonia. You know what I'm saying? So the remote access has really made a big difference for us.
So say, for God forbid, there is a leak, a major leak,
Yeah,
within the warehouse,
yeah.
what should they look for? As far as the warning signs that this is an ammonia spill, not just
You'll
fall.
smell.
You're gonna
There's
smell
the
it.
best detector on
Well-
you, you'll smell it.
You'll know
I've been
it.
here through every leak this place had, and you'll smell it.
You'll
I
smell
get it, but I know that, I mean,
You'll smell it.
in the place they explained that there's like a cloud.
No,
And it's
there
like
won't be a
something like
cloud.
that? No? All right.
Inside the freezer, you need humidity, a lot of humidity to see white. On a day like today, if say I had a roof leak or a leak on the condenser, you would see nothing because the humidity's so what? Low. Remember, ammonia loves what? Loves water, and water is what? Moisture in the air. So if I'm in, July, August, where I'm so humid, you'll see white. In a freezer, you won't see anything.
There could be a cloud outside though, right? If it's raining.
Oh, if it's raining or
Outside.
snowing, you're going to see
Outside.
white. The snowflakes will be bigger. It actually is absorbing what? More what? Moisture. It wants water. It doesn't care whether it gets it from your eyes, which are mostly water, or if it gets it from where? Within your body, and that's why we put those eye wash stations in showers, because I want to hit them with water. Why? So that the moisture is not taken out of where? Your muscle in your body. That's what we're after. All right. Again, in a freezer, for a lot of times people always said, oh, ammonia is lighter than air. Guess what? In a freezer, we did have a leak in the beginning here many years ago, when we first started up. And that ammonia leak was sat so low in that freezer that you couldn't smell it here at nose level, but you could feel it other places. See what I'm saying? When the fans went off, that ammonia just sat very, very low, less than 6 foot from the ground. All right? We're good.
Thank you, everybody.